Hey there friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today I'm going to be making a mini slimline card using the You Rock stamp and die. The stamp was previously released, but the die is brand new, and I'll show you just how fun that is. We're also going to be using some mini slimline die sets. This first is the clean and simple panels, and then we also have the card and envelope die, which obviously goes beautifully together. We're going to start off by doing some stamping. We're going to use some ink on 3 Blackout ink, which is perfect for alcohol marker coloring. And I'm going to stamp that onto some Express It cardstock. As you saw, I almost dropped my stamp block right on there and had a bit of a mess. But thankfully we didn't. And then I'll stamp out the You Rock as well. For my colors, we're going to start with some warm colors. I just looked up retro tapes, and it's so funny, it just brought me back. And so the colors I chose to use today were red, orange, and yellow. So because those are warm tones, I decided to use my warm grays. So we're going to start off with some W6, and we're just going to color that whole tape deck. And I know that seeing a tape deck should probably make me feel a little bit old since these haven't been around forever, but it does bring me back to, and you know, tell me if you agree. It brings me back to when I didn't really have the money to, buy my own favorite song because I was a kid, but I would have the tape and I would wait on the radio, and if I heard my favorite song come on, you'd rush over and hit record on your boom box. And then that way you could at least have the song, even if it had the DJ's voice in the background for the first couple seconds and then at the end. At least you had the song, right? So you could play it on repeat after that. Well, if you hit rewind and then play and then rewind and then play. But yeah, that was so much fun. And also having like a whole cassette tape of your favorite songs, and then you could make tapes for other folks. And anyway, that was so much fun because you really had to plan that out. And sometimes, like I said, you'd hear the DJ's voice at the beginning of a song. All right, so now we're going to bring in some Ys. So like I said, I wanted to do some yellow, some orange, and some red. I think the last time I used this stamp set, I had used, I think, turquoise and lime green and maybe orange. But anyway, I thought that this color combo would be just a lot of fun, and it definitely does bring me back to like retro time. My brother's favorite bands back then were like Poison and maybe Guns N' Roses and Def Leppard. I was more of the like Whitney Houston and Rick Astley, and we could not have been more different, I'll tell you. But 80s music. This just makes me want to put on an 80s playlist and just start jamming out, because I bet I would know almost all the songs. All right, now I've moved on to using some red. And the You Rock sentiment that we have here is fairly thin. So for my Copic, I am just using the very, very tip of my marker. That's why oftentimes you can't really see me coloring, because I have that marker almost completely perpendicular to the paper. So that way I can just focus on using only the tip of the marker. So I'll put down my first color. And originally I had, I think it was the R29, and I brought in R59. But then I decided that just wasn't dark enough after looking at my tape deck and where I'd put that color. I figured I would bring in some R89, and that way there would be a good bit of difference in between those two colors. Because the 9 in the back of the color for the Copic is basically the same as far as saturation, and so bringing in that 8 as compared to the 2 for the R29 and the R89, it definitely will bring a deeper shade. All right, so just bringing in a little bit of color, trying to make it a little bit ombre, but not too much. And now we're going to bring in the matching dies. So the matching dies are new, which is great. So if you already have the stamp set, go get you that die set, because I love this. The You Rock cuts it out perfectly. And I know at first you're like, okay, I hope I get this right. It is flawless. It's so easy. And so I'm running this through my die cutting machine, and I didn't cut it all the way through because I think I'd had it too close to the top of the plate, but I'll run it through again. And this way it comes out, and you'll see just how perfectly it cuts out You and Rock. Even the little bits in between are great. So it'll pop out the stuff in between each of the letters. And then you have this You Rock that is perfectly done. All right, I'm going to bring in not only that clean and simple mini slimline die set, but I'm also bringing in the card and envelope die set, so I can cut out the black using the card and envelope die. And then I'm also going to use just some white cardstock with the clean and simple panel. and then those will go right on top of each other very nicely. The one that I used in the Clean and Simple panel is the smallest one. I'm kind of positioning that to see where that's going to look nice on there, and I decide I want to bring in some Bee Sting Yellow Ink on 3 ink along with one of my blender buddies, and I'm just going to blend a little bit of color on that background. I'm starting out really, really soft, just like barely putting a lot of pressure, and then just blending that color out because I don't want it to be too stark at first. And then I'll position my pieces over the top of that to make sure that I have some good coverage. I'm going to bring that yellow down just a little bit more, and then when we're done with that, we can start actually adhering some of those pieces. So the first thing I want to do is put down You Rock. So I'm just going to use some liquid glue on the back of that, just being careful because that is a fairly thin die cut. And I'll just put a little bit all around that entire piece. You'll notice off to the side on the right hand side I have a bunch of music notes cut out. I cut that out of black cardstock as well. I love how this die set not only has that you can cut out the music notes themselves, but you can also stamp the music notes, and you can die cut those with the other dies in this set. I'm going to put some foam tape on my tape. That sounds funny, my foam tape on my tape. Peel off that release paper, and then we'll stick that down. And then I'm just going to kind of place out those musical notes around using a little bit of liquid glue. Obviously these aren't going to be really heavy, so I'm just putting it where the bottoms of the notes are, and using my jewel picker to pick those up and place those back down. This is a really easy card to make. It didn't take hardly any time. But now we're going to adhere our panel down to our beautifully scalloped edge panel. And there'll be some nice stitching edge around it that you can't really see on camera, but you can definitely see in person. Our card base is 6 inches by 6 inches, so you're just going to score it at 3 inches, and that is a mini slimline card. And now I can glue that down, but I'm going to wait because I just want to put a few more music notes on the inside. I'll just glue those little babies down. And as you can see off to the side, I already have my envelope pieces already cut out. I used some Tonic specialty cardstock in the color Crimson Silk. So I love making my own envelopes, and the fact that Trinity Stamps has its own die for that is perfect. So then you can use whatever kind of paper you want. And somebody had asked me, will that actually go through the mail? This one for sure will. It is the right size. I just looked up, at least here in America, I looked up what size you needed to have, and that will work perfectly to go through the mail. So now I'm just going to use my ergonomic bone folder to really score those lines that the die cut cuts or impresses into the paper. And then now I can glue down those pieces so I can make my envelope. And I highly suggest that you use a very strong adhesive. In my opinion, a liquid glue is best because you don't want this to fall apart through the mail. So a liquid glue is best. I haven't really had a whole lot of luck with any of my like tape runners, or even score tape for that matter sometimes will fall apart. So if you want to use score tape, I would use liquid glue on top of it as well. Then I will adhere it together in the center, and then we'll adhere the bottom, obviously not closing up the top just yet because we don't have the card in there. And then when all that is ready, that's actually going to finish off our card. So there's our card. Love it. It's so much fun. A little bit of music notes on the inside, and this will fit beautifully inside of our mini slimline envelope that will go through the mail just fine. And there you have it. So if you liked this video, I would love it if you hit the like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on our Facebook page, our Instagram, and check out the store for all the new products. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.